Hello, everybody. This is Daniel from the Overtimer. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button down below. We cover a ton of wrestling news here on the channel. All right, so let's get into it today, guys. We're going to be talking about WWE and what is going on specifically with Roman Reigns, because this is the hot angle of the hour on the WWE. Also, what is going on with Drew McIntyre, who lost to Roman Reigns. So what is going to happen to Drew and his belt, and what is going to happen with Roman and his belt? It looks like we have a feud between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens set up for the championship belt. So, hey CP, how's it going? Today it's just me and CP. Matt not able to be here today, but we got CP on the line. So CP, what do you think about this whole thing, this whole Roman Reigns thing? Roman Reigns beating Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series with the help of his cousin Jey Uso, who ran interference and allowed Roman Reigns to sneak in the victory. Now, first off, let's just discuss this a bit. Was that the right move to do for WWE, especially considering that Drew McIntyre won his belt just like a few days before that match? Did that move make Drew McIntyre look weak? Was it possible for Drew McIntyre to win the match, or was this the only solution, not just for this match, but also to set up possibly and likely a bigger rematch somewhere down the line between these two?
Really, I think it's probably the only outcome they could do without weakening both characters. Reigns has his where he's the top one in SmackDown. He's a head of the table, the tribal chief, everything. And Jay's trying to prove himself to him. And after he got shamed and kicked out earlier, he wanted to try to prove himself to Reigns. McIntyre's on a roll, and really, I don't see. I was even wondering going into it who would win it, and what justification would be for who to win it. A straight up loss would have, I think, weakened McIntyre a lot more than just having a run in and having the low blow and everything else happen to him. Reigns won it. It makes Reigns look weak, but then at the same time when he's standing up to Jay saying, "I didn't ask you for your help," kind of takes away. I think I actually kept them both steady. Still has them on the same path. Like, okay, would McIntyre have won without Jey Uso interfering?
Yeah.
Would Reigns have managed to get out? So it does have that question there, and it does have that feel like they might be trying to build for a WrestleMania match.
That's
It is a
what.
little early to say that one.
But I think you really get that feeling, right? Because right now, look, I'm not really a fan of Roman Reigns. I'm just gonna say it outright. I haven't been a fan of Roman Reigns. However, I was skeptical at first when they did this whole tribal chief head of the table thing. I thought it was lame, stupid, childish, immature. Just it kind of fits in well with what Paul Heyman does. He kind of likes to touch a lot on these kind of like animal kingdom themes, like being the hunter versus the hunt, like all this kind of stuff. So it fits in well with Paul Heyman's kind of mentality, which he also kind of does when he manages Brock Lesnar. But I didn't really see it at first. However, I have to say that it's kind of grown on me. It's kind of weird to say because of how much I usually am not a fan of Roman Reigns. But actually, I think this is not a bad angle, which is very, very, like I said, I'm having a change of heart on this one. So it's very interesting, and I do think that they are definitely trying to build this up as a WrestleMania match because, like I was trying to say before, these are the two top dogs in WWE right now. I don't know if there's any arguing with that. What do you think?
Not really. I mean, I can't think of anyone on Raw that that McIntyre could face anymore. That's really a challenge to him. He's gone through the roster. Reigns is, he's been through the roster before, but now it still has some fresh matchups, especially with the fresh, character change, everything else. I mean, he can still have some good fights going forward, and plus he has a side story, with Jey Uso and everything going on. But I think it's going to be fun. I mean, I have to admit, it's like I was not a fan of Reigns. I didn't like him on the mic. I didn't like him in the ring. I was one of the fans that were getting tired of seeing the McIntyre Reigns matches every other week. But I mean, this new heel turn worked out great, and they actually increased their viewership. I think they went from like 1.7 million to 2.1 now for SmackDown. It actually has drawn the fans in. I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. I do think that it's gonna be. I'd almost look at it as the Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. for WrestleMania 6 type of thing.
Yeah,
Or
but
it's not going to be
light.
every week we're gonna cross paths.
Yeah.
And I think it's really gonna build them both up. It's gonna be a good contest when it happens. Until then, I'm interested to see how the stories progress outside of just those two meeting head to head.
Well,
It's not gonna
this is the issue, CP, in my opinion. So WWE isn't necessarily bad at starting storylines. So they can, they can get the ball rolling with some storylines, like in this case, the head of the table, the tribal chief. But they haven't really proven that they can finish on these storylines. They kind of did similar things with Randy Orton. They had Randy Orton as face. He became a heel again, and he was kind of going through this psychosis when Edge kind of came back and stuff. But that whole kind of psychosis didn't really end up going places. It just kind of dissipated and kind of went out very, very quietly. And Randy Orton right now is kind of just on a big losing streak. And the whole Randy Orton goes crazy again angle didn't really provide much of an end, I guess, or any kind of satisfying finale in a sense. And so I think this is kind of the test for the WWE. Where are they going with this whole tribal chief, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso angle? Is there an end in sight, or was this just kind of something they came up with very quickly and they ran with it and they're kind of taking it, as they go along? I would feel like it would probably be some of that, but we don't know for sure at the moment.
Yeah, because I think one of the things I heard is that this actually was Reigns' idea to change heel and start this whole progression. So it's a great idea, but I do have a feeling just after last SmackDown with Baron Corbin and the Mysterios, the way that they're going to try to spin it, but it looked like they're trying to turn Corbin face, having the Mysterio family do all the heel things to interfere and mess the match up for him. And that could be an interesting one for Reigns there, because then you can have the King versus the Tribal Chief, who's going to be the Supreme Ruler on SmackDown. So as heels, they could find a way to get along. But if Corbin does do the face turn, that could be one that give another big guy, another big athletic guy that can perform to face off against.
So here's the thing.
Next,
so Corbin and Reigns have major history together. Just last year, I believe around the same time as now, you had Corbin feeding Reigns dog food and then Reigns kind of returning the favor. It was around the time last year if I remember correctly. I thought those angles were so immature but also kind of hilarious as well, because Roman Reigns and like his dog kind of symbol and stuff. He runs the dog. He's the dog that runs the yard or whatever. It was pretty funny. So Roman Reigns was face at that time. Now Roman Reigns is a heel. So it'd be interesting if they turn Baron Corbin face, but they might have to lose the King moniker, like the King, the whole King thing, for that.
Oh yeah, because it's like, if I'm just going back in my own memory, everyone that proclaimed themselves kings weren't the faces. You had like Harley Race or anything. Harley Race was not a face. I'm sorry. It's like he was a badass, but he wasn't a face. Like Hacksaw Duggan. Okay, never heard about it again. Stone Cold, you didn't really hear him proclaim himself king.
No.
I think that was meant as a big heel turn, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. I think because he was supposed to feud with Elias, but Elias keeps getting hurt. So that kind of ended that one. I think that's just bad luck in those regards. So I think if it doesn't turn face, it keeps the King moniker. I think it almost see him as a anti-hero, kind of like a Kevin Owens type right now. Owens is a face, but he doesn't mind kind of crossing the line a little bit. But I'm curious how they're going to handle it, because it's very risky turning like Rey Mysterio heel.
On SmackDown, that was weird. Like the Mysterios were they were interfering unprovoked. It was very, very weird.
They did everything they stand against. They would say, you don't do this, you don't do that. It's honor, honor, honor. But every single one of them, including Aaliyah, stepped in Corbin's way to prevent him from doing anything. And that's flirting with danger, because, this is Rey Mysterio. Now, the guy has had a great career. He's loved by fans, and they're trying to turn him heel and do it in such a petty way. And I'm kind of wary on that one.
I guess you could say it's kind of like the Bray Wyatt effect in a sense. You know how Bray Wyatt used to face off against people, and then they would turn heel like Seth Rollins did, and many others as well. So now maybe it's Seth Rollins' turn to kind of have these feuds. Well, he's only really had 2 feuds against the
Right.
Mysterios and against Murphy lately. It feels like it's been ages since he had a feud with anybody else besides the Mysterios and involving Murphy at the same time. But maybe he's kind of rubbing off a little bit on the Mysterios. They've had to face off against Seth for so long that now they've kind of taken and implemented some of the aspects of the Monday Night Messiah, who's now just the Messiah, I guess. I don't know if they ever officially changed his name or not, but maybe they taken some of his repertoire and kind of implemented it into their own.
Yeah, she's just
he's just the Messiah now.
That's some possible. Yeah, just a Messiah now, yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it could also be Murphy's influence, like Murphy's hair, and like, okay, well, maybe they're going to mill there. I really have a feeling they meant for that segment to be they're standing up to the bully, a united family standing up to the bully. I really think that's what they were going for, but just watching it, it just came across as 4 a-holes interfering in a match because they could.
Because
it wasn't like
they were interfering for no reason. Right? It's not like they were like King Corbin was crossing the line. They would just jump up on the ropes for no reason at all, which is not a face move in wrestling.
He would knock Murphy down, they jump up there. He'd hit the deep 6, they jump up to interfere.
Yeah.
He slid out of the ring, wrapped on the post, run there, and Aaliyah stepped in front of him. And it's like, yeah, it's just not, it's just seems so wrong in every level. And it's like, just I'm curious what's going to go, but I'm also kind of wary on that one. But it would be fun to see him and Reigns go at it again. It's time for more stakes.
Look.
I do think that's
okay. So
I think it's one of the big.
I'm just going to say this. It's also possible that the WWE screwed up that angle with the Mysterios. They didn't mean it to come off quite like it did. That's also
that's my thinking.
It's a real possibility that they don't mean to make the Mysterios into this heel faction. They just perhaps poorly written angle all around, poorly executed. I mean, there were some mishaps on SmackDown. One of them was the Street Profits commenting on Robert Roode's, he only grows mustache on his upper lip, but Robert Roode kind of has a full facial mustache. So that was a little confusing to me, unless I missed the joke, but it was a little confusing.
I think they flubbed that one because even the commentators tried to clear up, like, they're referring to before he had the facial hair, we just had the mustache on. So, and anytime the commentator had to go in explaining a joke, someone flubbed it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like
someone's not on paper.
But it's like, guys, don't you like train in the same locker room as Roode? Like, haven't you seen them? Didn't you practice this match before? Like, they usually practice matches, right? Like, it's not like they go out there impromptu.
Yeah, they practice somewhere. Yeah, they'll maybe practice by. I think they usually just talk about like what they're gonna do. Maybe do a walkthrough, something like along those lines. Usually,
yeah.
Promos. I mean, it could be where they're all given the same script, or they're all given their parts of the script. Maybe they allowed Dawkins and Ford to ad lib that one. That's what we got.
Yeah, it's possible.
Maybe they thought they were making a good joke. Like one thing, it sounded better in my head than it did. I said it. Type of things. It's like maybe it's just he thought it's being a highbrow joke or being cute or whatever, and it's just
it didn't work.
Kind of
it was like, what the hell is? I love the Street Profits. They're great. Don't get me wrong, but like I was utterly confused by that, and like you said, the commentators also remarked on it. So I'm just saying, perhaps some kind of like confusion on SmackDown, with that angle. Perhaps some with the Mysterio as well. So we can maybe jot it down to that. Okay, so let's discuss a little bit Drew McIntyre. He was not on Raw this past week. They're having this kind of like these matches, this tournament. I believe they're having a triple threat on Raw to decide who's going to face him. AJ Styles is in there. Who are the other guys that he's facing?
Styles, Riddle, and Lord, I can't remember.
Styles, Riddle, Sheamus lost against Riddle, right? Is it Keith Lee? Keith Lee, I believe. Yeah,
Keith Lee, yeah.
yeah, he
I, I,
won
I
by
kept
this.
thinking Sheamus. I knew Sheamus lost, but that's the name I couldn't get out of my head. That's why I was like,
Yeah, same here. So Keith Lee versus Styles versus Riddle. So probably it's not going to be Riddle, although they could pull a fast one on us. Now we know one thing, that Braun Strowman was expulsed. He was taken out of the building last week because he had butted Adam Pearce. And he's kind of going on this kind of like roid rage like kind of rampage, which I kind of like to see. Now we were talking before about how Drew McIntyre doesn't have any opponents on Raw. Well, in my opinion, neither of AJ Styles, Riddle, or Keith Lee really are worth the opponents for Drew at this moment in time. I mean, I'm the biggest fan of AJ Styles there is, but I just can't see AJ Styles beating Drew McIntyre right now. I can't see, if they're facing off, that he would have a legitimate shot at winning that match. Now, on the other hand, I feel like Braun Strowman is maybe the only guy on Raw that could damage Drew McIntyre in a match. The only issue with Braun is that the WWE, I'm not sure why they're doing this, and I think me and you agree on this. I think we both feel like Braun Strowman is one of the best wrestlers in the WWE. He's huge. He's gotten a lot better on the mic. He is angry. He's powerful. What else does this guy have to do to have, to have a shot at being the top guy? I think for a lot of this year, and perhaps maybe even some of the last year, Braun Strowman has been better than Roman Reigns. But Roman Reigns constantly seems to get these big opportunities, and admittedly, he is doing well with the opportunity right now, like we just talked about before. But Braun Strowman, in my opinion, has been the better of the two over the last year or so. He has really come into his own after he defeated Goldberg for the Universal Championship. He's been a force. But the WWE just writes him into these weak angles. Like he was beaten badly by Roman Reigns, just made him look very, very weak, sad, pathetic, and then he had to leave and come to Raw. He didn't even avenge that loss like you would expect this angry monster to do. So WWE just seems to weaken Braun Strowman a lot when I don't think that they should. I don't think that they have to, and I think that's a big mistake what they're doing with the angle. Still, Braun Strowman, I believe, is the only notable challenger for Drew McIntyre. What do you think?
oh yeah. I mean, you look at the roster. I mean, like Keith Lee, he's not ready for it yet. I don't think he needs more building. Riddle, everything I've heard, he keeps managing to somehow shoot himself in the foot backstage. I guess, he likes to do the whole real life antagonizing, allegedly. So it's like it's hard to see him going for it just yet. Maybe soon. They said Styles, Styles needs his bodyguard now to make him look imposing. And while it's fun to watch, it's kind of cool to see it when they're saying front side about how short Styles is compared to him. No,
He's-
to see like Styles over his navel and the guy's like 10 feet taller. It's like okay, it's
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 crazy.
like
It's
same time it's like
crazy.
it takes away a lot from it takes a lot away from Styles, and what he's accomplished. So it's like yeah, they all for neither of those three really feel right to have a championship shot.
That's
Strowman would pretty much be perfect for it. And I almost want to think that was probably Adam Pearce's selection before he went nuts, knocked him down. Just because it just makes sense. Like I said, he has everything you want in there. I just look back in the '80s with how they used to do the big guys, like how you had the Big John Studd and the King Kong Bundys. Yeah, the only ones that could really beat them were Hogan and Andre. They stayed big and strong, and they needed the other side, the top ones on the other side to beat them, and they could do it consistently or semi-consistently and keep it interesting. And now it's like, okay, you lost. Okay, go over here and pout now, or something. It really just seemed like they just weakened a little bit. They're like they don't know what to do with it anymore. They don't want to build him up so strong where he can't be beaten. But then you have McIntyre take 5 F5s, and he gets right up and it's like 5 Claymores and beats Lesnar or whatever. So it's like you're doing it for other people. I mean, it's either build them up or it just seems so wacky in how they do it. Just like the creating from the mid card up, they seem to be doing a bad job lately of just pulling people up into the better wrestlers. There's another example. He's getting squashed by Otis right and left. He couldn't do anything right. Now he's suddenly the super superior aggressive wrestler giving everyone a run for the money. It just seems the whole thing just seems a little disjointed with that. Like I said, SmackDown, they seem to be getting on the same page now. Since Triple H went there, they seem to be getting on the same page. Raw still seems very chaotic at times. They're still trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we do that? And it's frustrating because Strowman should be in there. He should be in the title talk. I mean, him and McIntyre, if they're allowed to just go out there and just perform for 20, 30 minutes, I think they'll have some awesome matches.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. The thing is, I just don't really understand. I feel like the WWE's writing of Braun is just very, very weak. Like sometimes they will unleash the monster and he'll be running rampage all over the place, and other times he just looks very weak and uncharacteristic. Like it's just very odd and confusing at times. And you know what, I don't think that the WWE sees this crazy potential that I see in Braun Strowman. I think because look, I'm not sure that Braun Strowman's on mic skills were the best, let's say 2 years back, but this year Braun Strowman, he is very crisp, he's very angry, he's loud, he's mean. What more do you want from a big, heavy guy that's also pretty damn athletic and pretty good in the ring too? There is literally not much that you can ask for Braun Strowman to do. He has been better on the mic than Roman Reigns. He is bigger, more imposing, more intimidating overall, besides in the WWE's mind. Like, when Braun Strowman gets angry, you know, I feel like people would legit be scared to be in the presence of this guy, right? When Roman Reigns gets mad, he doesn't convey anger very well, does he? I don't know.
I think it's kind of like Seth Rollins. He tries. He sells it hard. It's just the believability of it. You know, he can come across up to Jay because Jay's half his size.
Right.
You know, Strowman, he's literally no one's half his size. You know, so Reigns can come across it to certain people. You know, he's not going to back down, say, a Corbin or a McIntyre or, you know, a Strowman like that. He's not going to back them down. It's not going to look intimidating at all with them. And I think that's part of the trap. I mean, because they have all these littler guys, all these small guys now, and they got to make them look competitive and strong. And they're going against the Giants, and then it's like the Big Show. For how many Big Show is getting knocked around by everybody, and that's like Strowman's going through right now. It's like, yeah, he should go out. He should almost be like not Brock Lesnar. Sorry, Goldberg during his 183 and 0 run or whatever it was, and just run the rampage. Spend 6-7 months just destroying everybody.
He should,
you know, and that's how him and McIntyre come head to head, even a triple threat match with Reigns. Or just have them three come head to head and just let it go like an hour-long match and just let them pummel the Jesus out of each other. You know, and it's like, let them be the physical. Let them all be those big monster beasts they're supposed to be. But it just seems like they always want to rail it in. Like, no, you can't do that here. You know, because we have Shorty Gio here. We need to make him look good. It's like, then why put him against a giant? You know, it's just like, I don't know. I don't understand that thought process behind it. They should dominate.
I don't either. I just, you know, I'm a big fan of Braun right now, and I feel like he's a throwback to some older type wrestling. And like I said, I really like the way that he conveys anger. Like his acting ability to convey anger is just, right now, it's the best in the best in the business, I would say, really. And that ability to kind of just convey this visceral kind of anger is a big deal in wrestling, because, you know, it really sells, in my opinion. Like, the audience buys it. It looks real. Like, when Braun Strowman gets really mad, you know, you're not sure if it's real or not. He's this big guy. Is he having a roid rage moment? Like, what is going on? And that,
it's almost like a Super Saiyan.
What's that?
You almost feel like he's like a Super Saiyan. He gets angry. Like, you almost feel like the energy comes out of him in waves. Yeah,
you just see it. You just see it boiling in him. You know, he starts off like, "What did you say?" And then he just goes crazy, you know, to the point where he headbutts Adam Pearce. It's insane. And like I said, I just find that really works for me. And I'm just sad that the WWE doesn't see it. So look, we'll keep it at that. I believe there's a strong chance that no matter what happens in this triple threat on Monday, Braun will be in the title picture regardless. I think that the way that whole angle went down was to set up for something bigger. And so it's possible Braun just comes back, destroys everybody, something, who knows, something crazy. But it's very possible that Braun could be in the title picture before long. My issue isn't really with that, but I actually feel like Braun should perhaps be a serious contender, perhaps a champion, or at the very least a serious contender. I think him and Drew should have these battles like Randy and Drew were having, simply because these guys are the present. Randy Orton is kind of the past of the company, and so having this extended feud between Drew and Randy, it wasn't really all that great of a feud in my opinion. They just wasted some valuable months, and had they put Braun in that feud, I think that feud would have been way better. And I think it would have been two guys, the present, perhaps even the future of the company right now, going at it, building these two monsters up. I think would have been great, and I hope that that's what they do from now and going forward. To be honest with you, so so that's that. Do you think that Kevin Owens has a serious shot at beating Roman Reigns for the belt?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it'll be. I mean, his matches lately they've become more brawls. So I think he's going to put up a great fight. I think he'll come close. In the end, I don't see him beating Reigns just because. I mean, I love Kevin Owens, but he just doesn't seem like that level that Reigns is at right now. It's going to take like a Herculean effort from someone to defeat him. And I don't see it being Owens. Owens might win by disqualification or count out, or maybe sneak in a win here or there, and by some weird means, like maybe jumping off the stage again on them or something, like did Rollins. I could see maybe something along those lines, but yeah, just straight up, I don't see him winning the title.
Yeah, same here.
He'll get a shot. Yeah, he'll get a shot, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. I would love for Kevin Owens to win, but I just don't think that he's winning it, and I just don't feel like. I feel like they're in it with Romans for the long haul right now. Also, I feel like they're planning on having him as champion for a while. Like you said, you know what? I wasn't aware of this, but you said that the ratings have increased lately, and I think usually that's an indication for WWE to keep going with a champion if the ratings are up. So
yeah, I think Dusty Rhodes actually had a line where it says, "When you have a story that's working, you keep writing until it's dead, then you drag it until one turns it off." Right. So it's like, yeah, they're going to ride Reigns until he drops on him, and it's at least so. If he's doing a great job and it's bringing the fans in and everyone enjoying it, by all means, ride that horse.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet they'll do that, and just look. It's not, my opinion has always been this. It's not that Roman Reigns is at this incredible level. It's that WWE is building him up a lot more than they tend to do to other wrestlers. They just give him this very, very big high, very, very big build up. Look, right now it's working. So, yes, it's a safe bet that they're going to run with that. Safe bet that Roman Reigns maintains his championship against Kevin Owens. Probably keeps his belt at least until WrestleMania, in my opinion. It's probably going to take a Drew McIntyre beating him to become double champion. Perhaps Brock Lesnar returning, and they're going to have Paul Heyman's going to be in the middle somewhere between Brock versus Roman. You know, they might do something like that, right? Because Brock is somewhere in the background. We don't know exactly where, but he's somewhere, and we assume he's going to come back at some point.
He's probably just sitting back and waiting for this payday.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed. He's just waiting for another payday for whatever reason. Just sitting there waiting for his time.
Right.
Come.
He's still getting paid plenty of cash. Last we looked.
Yes, he is.
So, yeah. All right. So
I love that. That's the
So was there any other important news lately in the WWE that we should discuss, or should we just keep it at that?
I think that pretty much covers everything. It's a lot of it's being hush hush right now. That they don't put any previews out for the next coming shows except for maybe a match here and there, so it's hard to figure out what they're doing anymore. It's like, yeah, I think that pretty much covers like the hottest lines I have going.
All right. Okay. So let's discuss AEW and AEW Dynamite. And let's discuss. Well, let's start off with Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. This is the big match that is very hype right now. Does Kenny Omega have a shot at beating Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship belt? Now, we did a video on this maybe last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, where we speculated, and I believe all of our team feels pretty good that, Kenny Omega has a serious shot at beating Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship. Now, watching this past, week's Dynamite, CP, do you still feel confident that Kenny Omega will beat Jon for the championship, or are you having a change of heart?
I'm kind of stuck in neutral between the two. I think he should win it. I think he probably will. But it feels like they're trying to oversell him now, oversell him being the heel. Have Moxley's come out, and Moxley waylaid him, so it's not. And he didn't beat him like straight up. He just came out and jumped him. So that does kind of weaken Mox a little bit, but it's also tit for tat. If he was the one to attack Moxley last week, I do see him still winning. He probably will win it. I do have some doubts just at the way the storyline is kind of going now with that. But I think he'll still will. He should. And Moxley's been a great champion. He's had the top arguably a little longer than he should have, and I think Omega can take the company to a whole new level. He could be their version of Hulk Hogan type of thing if he gets it. So I think he'll win it.
I think so too, but I gotta be honest. The way that this whole Dynamite thing unfolded this week was just very odd. Moxley jumped Kenny, but Kenny didn't really fight back. He was kind of put away pretty solidly, and so it left me wondering. Kenny was made to look a little weak in that whole exchange. Even if you get jumped from behind, you can still put up at least a little bit of a fight. Yeah, the other guy's going to have the upper hand, but Kenny was completely destroyed. He was wiped out by Jon Moxley in that. Jon had his way with Kenny completely, and so it made Kenny look a little weak, and it put some doubts in my mind. I'm like, am I wrong to think that Kenny is going to win this? And I feel like maybe AEW is doing it on purpose. They're doing it to make it look like Jon is perhaps too strong for Kenny before the bout. They're doing it to make it look like Jon is going to retain, and I feel like perhaps it's just smoke that they're blowing in our faces. Now, I do think that Kenny will win. I feel. Look, the main reason why I feel like Kenny's gonna win is because Kenny is a worthy champion, right? Like, Kenny is ready to become champion of AEW. I think we all agree on that. I think he'll make a fine champion. He's ready. He's worthy. And I also feel like Jon's time needs to come to an end as well. I don't think that they can really extract milk anymore from Jon Moxley as champion than they have already done. So I actually feel like Jon Moxley or AEW, I feel like they can take this Jon Moxley character to new heights by having Jon rid of this championship burden and perhaps getting involved in some other different kinds of feuds going around. Perhaps a feud with MJF in a non-title fashion or something like that to kind of build a MJF a little bit. Who knows? But I feel like Jon has a lot of possibilities even as a non-champion. I feel like AEW needs Kenny. I feel like Kenny needs the belt. I feel like it's a good match right now, so I see it happening. The other thing is that so the whole mystery in this angle is who attacked Jon Moxley. So for a while now, AEW has been leading up to this Kenny Omega heel turn. I think we talk about this every time we have these podcast videos that we do, and it just doesn't seem like Kenny Omega ever fully goes through with this complete heel turn. Like, he doesn't become this vicious, this complete kind of maniac. He just doesn't. And I don't know. Maybe he did behind the scenes, and he attacked Jon Moxley. Maybe he paid someone to do it, like Jon Moxley accused him of. Or maybe Kenny Omega didn't attack Jon Moxley. And I think that the way this whole angle is unfolding, it's looking likely that it was not Kenny Omega that attacked Jon Moxley. It was somebody else. Now, we kind of spoke about this in our own chat, and I forget the name, but there's this Japanese wrestler that is in town from NJPW, and he is rumored perhaps to kind of be involved in a match with Jon Moxley at some point. So perhaps AEW is involving this guy. I don't know if you remember the name of this guy. It's kind of like completely disappeared from my brain right now. But I'll try to find the name. So it could be that guy. It could also be MJF or the Inner Circle. Perhaps somebody else in the Inner Circle. Perhaps Sammy Guevara. Perhaps I think we feel that maybe MJF could do it simply because, well, he's in the Inner Circle now. Perhaps he wants to take a shot at the champion. He feels ready. So maybe he would have done it. Maybe Sammy Guevara did it as a way to kind of like stray away from the Inner Circle, show a little bit his frustration with the fact that MJF is being accepted in the Inner Circle, showing that he feels a little bit on the outs in the Inner Circle, taking his frustration out. It's also a possibility. Lance Archer came back last week. We don't believe it's a possibility simply because Lance versus Mox doesn't seem like something like a rivalry that is going to happen again, considering that it happened not that long ago. I don't know, CP. What are your thoughts on this whole Jon Moxley, mystery attacker thing? What do you think?
I think I have to go with the idea that it is a wrestler from New Japan, just because of Omega's ties there. It seems more likely, especially when Mox said, "I don't know who you had attack me."
And by the way, the name of that wrestler is Kenta. I just.
Okay.
Yeah, Kenta.
Thinking Kenjo, I was pretty sure I was wrong on Kenjo, so I was like, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of New Japan, over here, so it's hard. I wish I could watch more of it. It's just not something.
I knew they were starting one, or they were planning to start one in the West Coast. So I don't know whatever happened. I don't know if they did it or they didn't.
I think they are CP, but you still have to like subscribe to the NJPW online streaming service and whatnot. So it's still not super accessible, I would say, for most people, especially if you're not like a hardcore fan of NJPW. So it's it's something I kind of catch here and there with highlights on YouTube and whatnot. But in general, it's hard to really stay on top of it, considering that there is no weekly show or whatnot here in North America. But yeah, so Matt, who's not here today, said that he believed it was Kenta because Kenta was in Florida around the same time that this happened, and also because Kenta is rumored to be facing Jon Moxley. It seems like it could be a possibility, really, and AEW could be setting up for something completely way out of left field that most people wouldn't see coming.
It makes sense too, because one thing I've seen in the last couple months, I think I mentioned in the chat before, how all the other promotions are almost doing like the whole territories thing. Like you have AEW, OVW, Impact, everyone. They're sharing wrestlers. Like they'll kind of appear in here and there. They always do all the other shows, the independent shows. So, I mean, you have a wide, list of people that can actually draw on for that one. But I do agree with Matt. Just because it's ties Omega, it'd be someone Omega brought in, someone that Mox theoretically wouldn't know. So it kind of makes sense now. But I mean, you could pull from a lot of it. I think that's what we could see going forward, and just bring in different people like Brian Pillman Jr. From OVW, he could come in. He's already performed once there. So you have a bunch of different ones that they can call on forward. So there really is no lack of potential attackers for them to have.
Right.
That's that's a cool thing. It's also the pissy thing, because then we can't figure out who it is. It's a lot harder to piss because you have like hundreds of wrestlers, a dozen wrestlers to choose from, and it's frustrating because then it's like, yeah, it's part of the game, but yeah, I do think it's Kenta. I mean, there's so many out there, but it just makes more logical sense just with Kenny Omega's ties, and just for a brief run. I mean, it could always be Dabo Kento. He could always gotten booted from the WWE. We never knew about it. So I mean, it's always a possibility out there.
I agree with you. It's a great thing. Look, it could also be Brody Lee, right? It could be so many people on the roster. It's crazy, especially depending on what AEW might want to set up for Jon Moxley down the line. perhaps Jon Moxley maintains his belt, and maybe Kenta comes to the AEW, faces. Look, we don't know for sure. It's and if Kenta did it, did he do it in conjunction with Jon Moxley? Was he paid by Jon Moxley to do it, or did he do it alone? Lots of things. I would say we will get some answers on that. To me, this angle is just as exciting as who's going to win the championship. So we're going to get some answers on that. I assume this coming Wednesday. Also, it's very possible that whoever the attacker was, if it was not Kenny Omega, like we think it was, whoever the attacker is, perhaps is going to have an impact in the match. So let's say it was Kenta, or let's say it was somebody else. Maybe they're going to have an impact, influence the outcome of the match, and help Kenny Omega win the belt. Who knows? If it's a straight up match, I would say that perhaps the advantage slightly goes to Jon Moxley. But look, we'll see what happens. I don't know what you think about that.
I think really it'll be a fun match. That straight up Moxley should win, because he's a brawler. He's a still Steve Austin 2.0. But yeah, I mean Omega, he's highly talented. Again, it's almost like Austin versus Shawn Michaels. If you look at him straight up with their abilities. That's
right. And also John is bigger, perhaps a little tougher. Kenny's a little smaller, more athletic, more of a pretty boy, but smaller.
Yeah, I can see Omega out dancing him in the match, just out wearing him down, doing the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee type of thing. I think straight up Mox will win probably 9 out of 10 times. So this will probably be the one time that they face. Omega's got to go for that one time out of 10.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, which is why I think that there might be some interference going Kenny Omega's way.
But I wouldn't be surprised Adam Page at some point.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, Adam Page is the. He has a thing going on right now with the Dark Order, and we're not sure where that's leading. It looks like he is kind of entertaining the idea of perhaps giving into his dark side and joining the Dark Order. It's I don't know how I feel about that whole thing. I think it could work, or it could bomb. Who knows? Now, if they do it, it could have a long progression, kind of like the Colt Cabana integration did. It might play out over months if it does. Who knows? It's the Dark Order angle has gotten a little weird, I would say, lately, simply because a lot of the Dark Order people, they've kind of shown their personalities. They're kind of corny. They're kind of like laughing around, making silly jokes and stuff, which is different than kind of Brody Lee's persona, his mantra, his being this kind of very serious, very very hard kind of like exterior personality. And so I don't know what they're doing with the Dark Order, but still they're keeping AEW's keeping the Dark Order around, I think, for a long time. And perhaps Kenny Omega's going to have an impact, or perhaps they're just setting up a feud with Brody Lee down the line for Kenny as well. Who knows? I don't know what your feeling is on that whole Hangman Page, Dark Order kind of thing going on.
It almost feels ambiguous right now. They're just treading water to see how they're going to work it out.
Yep.
And he could, it almost feels like Brody Lee's on vacation, so the mouse, the cat's away. Might as well play now.
Where is Brody Lee? Is he injured?
I haven't seen him for a couple of weeks. So he could be. I mean, I was almost wondering if maybe that's why McIntyre missed Monday Night Raw. If he's giving time off for his family, if he's might have been injured. So maybe Brody Lee has the same thing. Maybe it's just the holidays. He just had a week off or a couple weeks off or whatever.
So
maybe he's up.
Yeah, we don't. I don't know if we have any news on this. Maybe we missed it. But the other thing is that AEW is starting to have a glut of wrestlers right now that need some serious airtime. And it's hard to fit in all of these people in a 2-hour weekly show. They're bringing in wrestlers all the time. They have this new tag team. I forget their name. They're only like 21.
Oh yeah. Oh god, I almost had the name. I They debuted last week. They're pretty good, but yeah, I forget who they are.
They debuted against the Young Bucks the week before, and they were back this week. And so like they're bringing in all these. Excuse me, they're bringing in all these new wrestlers. And they're also giving more airtime. AEW has made Eddie Kingston into a main eventer, basically. And so Eddie Kingston is all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, he's been doing it for 2 months or so, 3 maybe. He is always there in the kind of main event spot somehow. And so now you got Pac coming back. You got Lance Archer coming back. There are a lot of cooks in this kitchen, so it's going to be interesting to see how AEW, gives people airtime. Brody Lee's, his disappearance, maybe in conjunction with this. Maybe it's to give some of the other Dark Order members more airtime. Maybe he's injured. Maybe AEW just didn't really have anything interesting for him in the pipeline. They just told him to kind of stay low for a little while. Anything is possible at this point. But Brody Lee is obviously going to come back. I think he's a big player in AEW. He's obviously going to come back with a vengeance at some point or other.
Definitely.
Yeah, so, okay. So, just to stick to the facts, to the important stuff. So, I think we both think that Kenny is going to win this belt. I think we feel like it's time. Now, in terms of other interesting news on the AEW front, did anything else catch your eye this week or recently that we should discuss right here?
Not like really big time. I was kind of waiting for the Death Triangle to break up. I was waiting for, I can't remember his new name, but Pentagon Jr. to actually turn on his brother.
Penta?
He didn't. Yeah, Penta. I was waiting for him to turn on. I watched too much WWE. It just kind of felt like he's like that mole that's going to turn or whatever. And it's just good to see them back. Outside of that, I really haven't seen too much more that's really big news or really going anywhere now.
So Penta is the younger brother, I believe, and then you have.
I think is he the older one? I thought Phoenix was younger.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes. Penta is the older. Phoenix is the younger. See the issue with the Lucha Bros is they don't talk, and so they should talk sometimes. Mm-hmm. Just to help us place things a little better in terms of their storyline. They're great in the ring. Obviously, they're amazing, and I think they should be tag champs at some point if they stay together. But I do wish that we could see them, even if it's in Spanish or whatnot. I don't think it matters. I wish they could talk a little bit more just to build a bit more of a bond with the audience. That's my only complaint about them, because some of these storylines that AEW is hinting at, like Penta turning on his brother, sticking with Eddie Kingston, but then joining Pac and reforming the Death Triangle, they seem very ambiguous. They seem very kind of made out of the blue. Like, we don't really understand why, the Lucha Bros would side with Pac over Eddie Kingston. I mean, like, the commentators try explaining it a little bit, but I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense. And a lot of it is because the Lucha Bros themselves, I hate to criticize the Lucha Bros because I think they're awesome in the ring, but I feel like in terms of the storyline building, they are just lacking a little bit, and I feel like the commentators are left kind of scrambling to try to explain exactly what's going on. Also, it's possible that with a lot happening, Pac returning and all this, it's all very fresh, very recent, and so AEW perhaps is just... They seem to have this kind of method of explaining things as they go along. I think we kind of spoke about this. Things happen first, and they get explained later, sometimes even next week. This seems to be a very AEW thing to do. So, yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, just wish they would talk a little bit more, even if it's in Spanish.
Definitely.
I don't really, because don't forget, just 2 weeks ago, they were trying to rip each other's masks off, right? And the commentators were like, "Oh my God, this would be a disqualification if this was in Mexico."
Oh yeah. It's like total disrespect back and forth, well, mainly from Penta to Phoenix, but then they repaid it. So it's like, yeah, that can't disappear overnight. That's why I was waiting for something to happen.
This is what I'm saying. And then all of a sudden they're back together, they're back with Pac, but no explanation is given to how they got over this animosity.
Mm.
And
Because I mean, Kenson brought he brought them together initially, but now to separate them from Pac before. But now, yeah, who's doing the talking now? Where's the explanation on it? It's like that we never get to hear them say anything.
I'm just I feel a little frustrated. Like I don't know, like frustrated. Like I'm not like I should be getting more of an explanation, and I'm not getting it, and it just it just frustrates me a little bit. It's also possible that AEW is kind of just going with the flow on this, and maybe they decided that they were going to have the brothers split up because like the big deal with these brothers is that if they split them up, they each both go into singles competition. And right now, given that they only have a Dynamite, which is 2 hours per week, they need to give both of these guys their individual slots on a weekly show. They might not have that time. So maybe they flirted with the idea, we're going to break them up, they're going to have this crazy feud, and then maybe they saw, oh, Pac is coming back, oh, Lance Archer is coming back, oh, maybe Brody Lee's coming back. Can we really give these brothers their airtime? Oh, maybe not. So let's just put them back together. We don't know right now because nothing is really explained with the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, but just hope eventually they'll figure something. They'll figure it out and they'll start setting up. I think I said influx of talent. That's a good and bad thing because you get more talent to have, but now you got to work with what you have. If you're doing this, plans get canceled, plans get moved around. I mean, sometimes we hear that outcomes of matches were changed like an hour before they went out for the match, like we're in the middle of an event. Various promotions, it's just because they have it. This happened or that happened. Someone gets hurt, whatever. It's fun and it's frustrating.
Yes, and also, I think we're going to end it with this. I'm just going to touch on one last point. I think we've been talking about this, but AEW has been pushing, I believe, for a second show. And maybe, I don't know, there are some rumors out there that they might be getting it in the near future. I don't know.
I think they were actually granted a second show before the pandemic.
They were granted a second show before the pandemic.
I think I remember they came to terms to have a second show. But then, at least if I remember it right, I think they actually, before the pandemic, they were actually said they're going to have another show in 2021.
Right.
Second show. Assuming, I don't know if it's going to be that they can take Dark from YouTube and just broadcast that. It's going to be another one TNT. At least that was the plan. I don't know if that's changed or not. Well, unless it's going to move that or make a third show.
Well, AEW Dark is not. It's a second show, but not really. Kind of like. It's not a part of the canon per se. I mean, the commentators touch on it, but briefly, and so it's not like what happens on AEW Dark has a huge impact on what happens on Dynamite. But yes, so if they're granted a second show by TNT, this is good news. It means that they might have one in the near future. I believe their roster is ready for it, and so maybe this could be very exciting for 2021. If they do have a new show, I'm just going to say this. This is just a personal opinion thing. I hope they don't do this stupid brand separation thing that the WWE does. I just hope they just have two shows where the storyline continues from one show to the next, and that's it. Don't give us any of this incoherent bullcrap that the WWE does with two brands, and then just keep having wrestlers from one brand invading the other brand just because, and then just keep telling us that, oh, there is a serious brand separation thing that is at play here because we have two different networks, USA and Fox, and they all have their separate contracts when we know it's not real, and that just bothers me. So I
was actually just thinking that there. It's like please do not do another brand separation. No.
It triggers me. The audacity of the WWE to flat out lie to us about this ridiculous non-existent brand separation. Every time it happens, and you have one guy, oh, Seth Rollins is coming to Raw or SmackDown, or Drew McIntyre, oh, I was just in the building, Roman Reigns, and now I'm just going to have a match with Jey Uso just because there is no brand separation. That's the reason. And so, anyway, it's just incoherent. And it bugs me, and so I'm glad we're on the same page with that. So if they
can give that. the sooner they get rid of the professor, the more I'd be happy.
It just look. There's a lot more potential in terms of story building with without having a brand separation. The brand separation, the biggest issue in my opinion is that it limits the storytelling to some extent, and also, well, the incoherence really triggers me. But the storytelling, it's limited. I think you could do more with the storytelling with having two consecutive shows in a week. You're not gonna have like wrestlers compete on both shows, but wrestlers can be present at both shows and keep the needle kind of going, like keep threading the needle, so to speak, and keep the storyline going without actually competing. And so I think it provides many more interesting opportunities than the hard stance hard stance. Not really, okay, just brand separation WWE has going. So I think that's going to do it, CP. I think we covered what we had to say.
Yeah, pretty much. We did pretty much cover everything.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to end it right here. Okay, thanks, CP. Thanks for joining me today. If anybody's still watching this, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that button somewhere down below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
Have a good one.
All right, take care, CP.